Hi, congratulations. You're nearly there. Getting through the final year, hopefully have great memories of your 5, 6, 7 years or so at vet school and about to become an MRCVS and get let loose. You may, certainly if you're like me, have a few concerns about having to send your CV off and negotiate, basically try and tell people how awesome you are so that they then give you money for the skills that you've got. A few tips and tricks then about how to negotiate and how to approach your interviews. Before you even start applying, sit down, have a think, what is it that you want from your job and what is it that you're prepared to accept. Try and have 3 columns, 3 bits. What must you have? What do you absolutely must have? What would you like to have? And what are your red lines? What are you refusing to have at all in there? And just think about it. What would you accept you're looking for a small animal job? Would you accept a little bit of equine or a little bit of farm animal in that job? Would you accept out of hours? Is that a lot of new grads want to do out of hours? So a lot after a few years don't want to do it. Is this important to you? Do you want to work full-time, part-time? What is really important to you? What would you be prepared to give and take on in the I'd like to have column, and what are your red lines? It could be salary. What is the lowest? If you found your perfect job, what's the least amount of money you'd do it for? Have a think. What salary would you do your perfect job? Obviously you'd like it to be more, but what's the minimum? Just so you've thought these things through before you then go into any negotiation gives you a lot more power to make sure that you get lots and lots of what you must have, none of what you do not want, and as many of those nice to haves as you can. Before you go to interview, do as much research as you can. The more research you do, the more power you have, the better able you are to stand out in that interview. So once you get the interview, try and find out who is going to be there in the interview, 1, 2, 3 people, whoever it is. Check them out, find out who they are. Have a look on the practice websites, do a bit of internet stalking, have a look on LinkedIn, fantastically powerful place to look, and see who they are, what they like. Maybe they've got certain qualifications and certain interests that you can remember and bring up and show that you have shown some interest. Some people get a bit nervous because on LinkedIn, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I can see that you've looked at my LinkedIn profile. Some people think that that's a little bit concerning. Not at all. LinkedIn is for business and businesses and professionals. It is a networking tool. If I'm going to interview you and I see that the day or two before you have a look at my profile, that's a big tick in the box. It shows that you're interested, proactive, wanting to make a good impression. So definitely I'd try and get as much information as you can, and that just allows you in the conversation to be more memorable, to be more on point. When it actually comes to the give and take and the negotiation phase of it, when they finish the interview, you may be lucky. They may offer you the job straight away. Fantastic, well done. I would recommend you don't accept it straight away. Say, thank you very much, that was fantastic, really brilliant, I'm over the moon that you've offered it to me, whatever words fit for you, and then ask, would you mind if I let you know later on today or tomorrow, or have a think over the weekend, whatever seems like a sensible amount of time to think about. This just allows you to not make any rash decisions, to go away and think, is it the right location, is it the right practice, will I have the right support, is it the right money, am I going to be happy here in my first job, and then get back to them very, very quickly. Don't leave them hanging because it's just unfair on the practice, but certainly on the other side, don't make the decision straight away. And then there's the give and take. It might be that it's the perfect job, but the salary is lower than you are happy with. Well, you can always go back and say, and I would start with, this is great, thank you very much, I really enjoyed meeting you, I very much like the job, etc., etc. But is there any room for negotiation? The salary is lower than I was expecting, or the salary was slightly below what I was hoping to be paid. And you can see if they're able to up that. A lot of practices, if they've got the right person, if they're really keen on you, if they know that you're going to fit, a few £100 or £1,000 is really very small beans in the grand scheme of things. The difference between getting a really good employee and a really bad employee is a large amount of money. The paying you a few £100 more or less is pretty small beans. So you can always ask, and they might say no. That's fine, but at least you've asked. One, it does show that you've got a bit of negotiation skills and that you're happy to talk about money. Again, that's a criticism that's often fired at new graduates, is that you are unwilling or nervous about chatting about money with clients. Well, if you're already saying that I'm happy to talk about my salary with you as my potential employer, well, hopefully that's showing that you're financially aware, which is a benefit. If they come back and say, no, we can't budge on that, it may be other reasons. It may be because they've got other people on similar salaries, and to increase yours would then mean that they would have to increase others, and it could be quite a sort of a knock-on effect. That's fine. Just say, okay, thank you very much. Have a think. Are you happy to work for the salary that they've offered? Potentially, you could then negotiate on something that's not money related. Maybe you can negotiate on your hours. Well, fine, I'm happy to work at that salary, but would you consider 4.5-day week? Would you consider slightly less out of hours? Would you consider increasing my CPD budget? Instead of increasing my salary, could I have an extra £500 in my CPD budget? Those are things that you could sort of negotiate on, and practices might be willing to budge on that if they're not willing to budge on the salary. If they're still unwilling to budge on the salary, but you're really keen on the job, but the salary's just not quite there, a good reply would be, thank you very much, I'd love to take the job, really happy, etc., etc. It really fits what I was looking for. The salary's lower than I was expecting. I'm happy to accept it if you would promise, or you would commit to having a 6-month salary review so that I can prove to you that I'm worth it, and if I have done, then you can then up my salary at that point. What you're doing there is you're putting the risk on yourself. You're saying, I'm going to come and work for your practice. I appreciate that I'm an unknown entity at the moment, but give me 6 months, I'll prove it to you, and at that stage I'd like to have a sit down and a salary review. They know that that means they'll probably have to increase your salary as long as you're doing what they want you to do. But the benefit there is you're not having to wait for 12 months. So you're just delaying your salary increase by 6 months. It works quite well. And finally, after the interview, once you've finished, once you've left, if you haven't heard anything, the next day I would recommend sending an email just saying, thank you very much, really enjoyed the time at your practice. I look forward to hearing from you. It's common courtesy, it's polite, it shows good communication, it puts you in a good light.